just so hard to stay attached to this world. I feel like that. MP5 down mid. Let's just leave one enemy remaining. Won't let me be. Got me where I'm stuck on my teeth.
Yo, what's going on? This is Rockin here. Welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make an awesome Valorant edit with sync and flow. I'm going to show you how to make the edit that you saw at the beginning of this video. I recommend you stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to teach you how to choose a song, how to sync to the beats, how to add effects, edit the whole montage, as well as how to export it. And we're going to do all of this in completely free software. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. So for this tutorial, we're going to be using Capcut. Capcut is an awesome free video editing software available on Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS. So no matter what you're editing on, you can definitely follow along with this video. So if you don't already have Capcut, head down to the description, click the link there, go and download it. It's completely free. Big shout out and thank you to Capcut for sponsoring this video. So here you can see my previous projects. I'm going to open that up and you'll see that this is actually the project that I showed at the beginning of the video. Now the reasons I like Capcut is not only because it's completely free and available on almost every platform, but also because the quality of edits that you can make within this app is actually insane for it being completely free. They've got some really advanced features like motion tracking, auto background removal, the ability to have several layers of video, several layers of audio, and several layers of effects, all stacked up on top of each other, as well as the ability to make compound clips, which I'll show you why that's so nice later on. And they also have pretty decent time remapping options as well, which is just going to make syncing your edits 10 times easier. Now I'll quickly play through this edit so you can see that in fact it is the same one that I showed you at the beginning, and then I'm going to teach you how to make something just like this.
It's just so hard to stay attached to this world. I feel like that. MP5 down mid. Let's just leave one enemy remaining. Won't let me be. Got me where I'm stuck on my teeth.
Okay, so as you can see, it is exactly the same edit. I must say it was incredibly easy to make this. I put this together in, less than a couple of hours. But yeah, if you don't already and you want to follow along with this video, then go ahead and download Capcut. And yeah, let's get into the editing tutorial. So this is what Capcut looks like when you first open it. So you can see I've got my previous project here and we're going to create a brand new one. Now, before you do anything, the first thing you want to do is come over here and click modify. Now this is going to modify the project settings. So we're going to give it a name. So I'm just going to call mine tutorial. Import material, you get the option. You can either copy it to the project. So if you drag a video in and then delete it from its original location later, it's still going to be available, or keep it in original place. I'm just going to keep mine in the original place. Ratio, leave it as default. Resolution, we'll leave it as default. We're going to want to come and change that later though when we come to making vertical content. Frame rate, now this is important that you change. You're going to want to put this on 60. Now depending on what kind of edit you're doing, if it's got a lot of slow-mo, then maybe you'll want to drop it down to sort of 25, 24 so to avoid dropping frames. But for a kind of smooth sync edit, you're probably going to be looking for 60. So we're going to pick that. Color space, leaving it on default, and then free layer, you're going to want to enable this. Now essentially what this does is allows you to control which layers are visible by sort of stacking them on top of each other, whereas previously if you didn't have this on, then you'd need to pick the order of the layers by clicking on the layer itself. Now I just find this is a lot more intuitive, so I'm going to turn that on, and if you want to follow along the tutorial, then I recommend you also turn it on. And under performance, if you have a pretty slow computer, then you can use proxies, which is essentially going to make a lower resolution version of your original video for you to edit with, and then when you render out the final video, it's going to use the full quality. Capcut isn't really demanding on your computer, so you probably won't need this, but in case you do, it's there, so just bear that in mind. And we're going to click save. Now the first thing you want to do when you decide to make an edit is you're going to want to pick your song. So in the audio tab, Capcut comes with a vast variety of different soundtracks which you can use. So go through, have a listen, maybe you'll like one of these. There's also tons of sound effects as well, in case you want to add sound effects to your montage. If you don't find any music in here that you like, then you have the extracted audio section. So say you've got a video of another edit that you like, you can drag and drop the video in here and you can take the audio from that. Now this is handy if you don't know what the song's name is, or if you just don't have like an original MP3 file or anything like that and you'd rather just grab it from the video. And lastly, there's a TikTok section here, so if you connect your TikTok account to your Capcut, and I believe it will show sort of your saved songs and songs you've recently used, that sort of thing. I'm going to be using a song called Brooklyn Blood Pop, which was a very popular sound on TikTok a couple of years ago, and all I'm going to do is just grab it and drag and drop it into the import section over here under media. Alternatively, you could click the big import button in the middle or this button up here and grab your audio that way. Now I'm just going to grab the audio and drag and drop it onto my timeline just like this, and I'm going to have a listen through and pick the part that I want to edit to. Okay, so I've decided that I want to start the edit sort of around this section, so around around 1 minute 7 seconds. I'm going to select my clip and press Ctrl B on the keyboard to split the layer, select the first part and press delete. Now all I'm going to do is drag the audio to the beginning of the timeline, just like this, and you can now hear that it will start from the section that I want it to. Now what I recommend you do so that there's not such a harsh start is you can grab this little button right here, you grab it and pull it, it's going to fade in the beginning of the song. So I'm going to go for sort of 4 seconds. You'll see it will now slowly get louder as the song starts. And the next thing you want to do is, with your audio selected, come up to this little flag here where it says auto beat, and if you click one of these options it's going to automatically mark the beats of the song for you. So I'm going to test out beat 1, so I'll click that and you can see these little circles at the bottom, they're going to be on the beat. Now you can see there it's sort of added it on every 3rd or 4th beat. I actually don't want that, I'd rather it be on every beat, so I'm going to try out beats 2 and you'll see it's just put in 2 or 3 times as many little circles. So if I play it through now and I'll zoom in, and as you can see it's pretty accurate, and no other software that I've used has this feature, so this is actually a massive time saver instead of having to go through and add markers manually. But yeah, that's pretty much how you get the song prepped. Now what you're going to want to do is move on to the video. So now I actually don't really have any time to play Valorant anymore, so I actually don't have any recent clips of my own. So to remedy that, I'm going to be using a clips pack by Unknown Edits. I'll leave a link to his channel and this clip pack down in the description, so make sure you go check it out, subscribe to him, show him some love because these clips are sick. And the one that I'm going to be using is clip number 2 of his clip pack number 3. So I'm just going to again drag and drop that into my project and drag and drop it down onto the timeline as well. So to zoom into the timeline, I'm holding Control and using the scroll wheel. You also have the option of coming up here and clicking this magnifying glass. You can zoom in or zoom out over here. One setting that I do recommend that you disable in Capcut is this one over here where it says turn off the main track magnet. Basically what that means is I can't drag this track anywhere that isn't touching, you know, the start or another clip in front of it. So by disabling that, it allows me to drag the clip back a bit, and that way I can wait for the intro of the song before the first beat that I want to sing to. Now what I'm going to do is scroll through my clip and I'm going to find where he gets the first kill. So looking very carefully, you'll be able to see he gets the kill exactly on this frame here. You can see when this little icon pops up here and when the Sage drops her weapon. I'm gonna put my playhead there, select the clip and press Ctrl B. So now I've got a cut where I get the kill. So I'm gonna drag this part of the clip away because we don't need it for now, and I'm gonna focus on this main clip over here. Now to sync this and make the impact of the kill a lot greater, I want to make the clip slow-mo to start with. So in order to do that, I'm gonna scroll through the clip and find the part where I want to start making it slow motion. So in my case, it's when he peeks the door just like this. So I'm gonna go to this point just before he walks on the side of the door, and again Control B on the keyboard to cut this clip, and I'm going to drag this first part back just to avoid, you know, accidentally changing it when I didn't mean to. Now with this clip, what you can do is come up to speed, and here on this panel you'll be able to change how many times faster or slower it is, or you can edit the duration itself. Now what I'm going to do instead is come over to the curve section, which is a little bit more advanced, and here you can see we have some preset curves. So if we pick one like montage, for example, you can see we have this curve here. Now to understand this curve, essentially look at the left side here. So you can see we've got 0.1x, 1x and 10x, so that's going to be the speed of the clip. So 0.1 is going to be 10% of the speed of the original clip, and 10 times is going to be obviously 10 times the speed. So you can see it starts off at normal speed, gets faster, quickly dips down to slow motion, back up again and back at normal speed. Now they have a lot of presets here, so if you struggle with creating your own curves, which we will be doing in this video, then feel free to use any of those. So if I play this through, you can see it's a pretty cool sync in itself. So, you know, if you line that up with a beat, that would already look pretty slick and you don't really have to change anything. And I'll let you mess around with the rest of them. So in my case, what I want to do is by pressing Ctrl Z to undo, I'm going to come over to customize and I'm going to make my own. So you can see currently it's just at normal speed and I want it to start slowing down when he shoots. So I'm just going to drag this down and I'm going to drag this end part down as well. So you can see that it is normal speed and then gets slow as he starts to shoot. So I'll play that through. Now, another cool advanced feature that Capcut has is this here, smooth slow-mo. So we have frame blending, which is essentially where you can see on screen right now. If I make this full screen, you can see it looks really shaky. Now, the reason for that is because we've got a 60 FPS clip and we're slowing it down. So what do we do to slow down a 60 FPS clip? We just play the frame slower. So instead of being 60 FPS, it ends up becoming, say, 20 FPS if you want it to be sort of a third of the speed. Now, by slowing the clip down and playing it at 20 FPS, it's going to look very choppy in a 60 FPS composition. So what frame blending is doing is it's identifying where a frame is missing. It's taking the frame before, the frame after, and sticking them on top of each other. So we get this sort of look here. Now, this is very quick and performant, but I don't think it looks very good. So the other option they have here is optical flow. Now, if we look at the video, you can see it's got rid of that, and this frame itself here, because we know it was a dropped frame from before, is actually been generated using the previous frame. So for example, we look at the frame before, the frame after, and it'll generate its own frame from those two to, you know, figure out what should be in the middle, and it does a pretty good job at it. If I play this through now, you'll see it'll be a hell of a lot smoother compared to this. You know, I'll put a side by side on screen now. Okay, so with optical flow enabled, that's going to make our slow motion look much smoother. And now we're going to want to start syncing this clip up with our beat. So let's listen through to our song and decide where we want our first kill to be. So I want it to be right here on this beat, as you can see. So I'm going to drag our slow mode clip before this playhead, and I'm going to drag our other clip behind it. And I'm going to reconnect the front of our main clip, so we have one continuous clip. Now, to make the intro a little less jarring, what I'm going to do is come onto our first clip, go to the video section, and I'm going to set the opacity to 0. The opacity is essentially how transparent the clip is, and I'm going to keyframe it by clicking this little diamond. And now essentially what a keyframe is a point in time where we set a value of something. So you could set a keyframe for opacity, for speed, for brightness, for, you know, whatever you want. In this case, it's going to be opacity. So at the beginning of the clip, we want it to be 0%. So it will go in a portion and we'll drag our opacity back up to 100. And as you can see, it automatically adds a keyframe. You know, if the little diamond here is highlighted, it means it's got a keyframe. And you'll see down on our clip, we've got these two diamonds here indicating our two keyframes. Now, essentially, we've got one keyframe at 0, one keyframe at 100, and the space in between, it's going to interpolate, or you can notice here on this bar right here, it's going to slowly animate between the two values that we selected. So it starts off black, which is our, you know, the default color where there's no clip, and it comes in slowly, just like that, and looks a bit nicer on the start than just, you know, going from black to your clip. Okay, so now that we've synced the clip and added our opacity to fade the clip in, we can now get on with adding some of our effects. So the order that I recommend you do stuff in is definitely sync first, because if you start adding effects and then change the speed of the clip later, it's going to start messing up your keyframes and you're going to have to go back and readjust everything. So I'd recommend definitely syncing it first, and now, you know, we'll start with our effects. So the first thing we're going to do is our scale. So we're going to want it to zoom in, you know, just before we get the kill, and then it's going to zoom out quickly. So I'm going to go to the point where I get the kill. So if I zoom in like this and go back one frame, so this is currently looking at a frame on this clip. So if we go back one frame to look at the last frame of this clip, and we're going to set this, and we're going to drag the scale in. So I'm going to pick something like 160, we'll go something like that, and I'm going to add a keyframe, go back a couple of frames, sort of like, you know, maybe 3. I'm going to set it to 150, and then I'm going to go back sort of a decent amount, and we're going to go for 100. And 100 is sort of the default size. So you can see it's added the 3 diamonds, and the keyframe is highlighted over here, so we know it's applied. So if we watch this back, I actually want it to start when the slow-mo happens. So I'm going to remove this keyframe, and I'm going to check for when it starts to go slow-mo. So that's about here, and I'm going to set the keyframe to 100 now. Now the reason we have this extra 150 keyframe here is if I remove it, it's going to be very linear between these 2 points. In other words, it's going to evenly increase by sort of a percent a frame evenly to the second keyframe. And what I want to do is have it zoom in fast to start with and then slow down. So I'm going to go back a little bit in time around here, and you can see actually I was pretty unlucky and it was, you know, 150 anyway. So let's make this something a bit closer. So let's do like 155. So it's going to zoom in quickly, and then over this portion it's only going to zoom in by 5%. So it's going to start off fast and then slow down, and that I think makes it look a bit more dynamic and is a little bit more interesting interesting than just a linear zoom. Now the zoom out, we're going to want it to be a lot quicker. So I'm going to come to the first frame of this second clip and I'm going to keyframe it at 160, which is what our previous one was at. Okay, so now I've set that to 160. I'm going to go forward a few frames, just like this. I'm going to set it back to 100, which again is default. So this is what it looks like. You can see it zooms in slowly and zooms back out quickly, and that's going to add some impact to our kill. Next up, what we're going to do is brightness. So I'm going to come onto our second clip. Again, first keyframe where we had the scale at 160. Go over to the adjustment tab. I'm going to scroll down, and here you can see brightness. I'm going to drag that all the way to the max. Keyframe it, go forwards a decent amount, sort of about here, for example, and I'm going to set it back to 0, which is the default. So this is what this looks like. You can see it adds a flash to our clip, just like that, adding even more impact. Now we're going to add some effects. So let's navigate over to the effects panel. Under video effects, under the nightclub section, let's see we got vibration flash here. So I'm just going to drag and drop that onto the clip, just like this. If I scroll through this, you'll see what it does. So it does this kind of flash effect like this. So I'm going to put it at its peak, which is sort of around here, and we're going to adjust it to our liking. So I'm sort of going to increase the strength drastically, going to increase the glow, the range we're going to max out, and the speed we'll do a little bit with as well, sort of go to say 40 on that. And I'm going to drag to the point of the clip where we get the kill and slowly drag this vibration flash back to the point that it starts on the kill itself. So just like that. So if I play this back, you can see it adds that effect. Now if you don't trim the end of this effect off, as you scroll through again, it's going to repeat it multiple times. I'm going to come to just the end of it and I'm going to drag this down so that it doesn't apply itself again. Now I like this, but I wish it was a little bit stronger. So what I'm going to do is navigate to the start of the vibration flash, click on it, press Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and you'll see it's now going to paste the effect again. So if we watch it back. And finally what I'm going to do is add a ripple. So I'm going to grab the ripple, drag it down, start the kill, just like this. You see it adds this ripple effect in the middle. And I'm actually going to increase its speed to 75. Let's see how that looks. And as the ripple disappears, I'm going to just trim the end of this effect off. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you're going to edit your kills. Now, you don't have to use these effects. There are plenty on here for you to choose from. It's really up to you to go through and choose. You're sort of going to want to keep the syncing and the zooming pretty much the same, but what you do with regards to the vibration flash and the ripples and things like that, you can pretty much add whatever effects you want. For example, there's shakes here as well, shakes, strobes, all sorts of different kinds of effects for you to choose from. I recommend just going through and testing some of them out. There's literally hundreds of them here. You also don't have to use actual effects themselves. You can come over to the transitions tab and you'll see there's plenty of transitions here as well, which will also work as effects. So for example, this pull-in transition, if I put this between the two clips, look at what it does. That in itself is a pretty cool effect as it is. And I used a variation of these transitions and effects in the edit that I made. And that's pretty much it when it comes to syncing the clips. You're just going to rinse and repeat that. So speed ramp your clip, add some scale, add some brightness. You could also add contrast or highlights or whatever else, saturation if you wanted to, chuck some effects on top of it, and you're pretty much going to do that for every single kill and make sure that they line up with the beats. One final effect I want to show you is the one that I used at the end of my edit. So if I come to the end of the clip, and I'm going to cut the section where he pulls the knife out, press Ctrl B to split it, drag it to the side, just so that we have, it's just so it's separate for us to work on. I'm going to drag a little bit further through, so after he does the flip with the knife, and I'm going to press Ctrl B to cut it there and discard this second part of the clip. Now what I'm going to do is select the clip, come up to speed, and I'm going to drag the speed down, so we'll sort of go for half speed. I might even go slower than that. Let's go for 0.3. And I'm going to enable smooth slow-mo with optical flow, which is just going to make it look even smoother. So if I play that back now, as you can see, that's what that looks like. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate this clip. So I'm going to select it, press Ctrl C and Ctrl V to copy and paste it. So I have a version on top. I'm actually going to hide the layer beneath and selecting my clip above. You come over to the video tab, click on cutout, and we're going to want to auto cutout. So we'll just see if this does a good job at, getting the knife, which it does seem to do a decent job. You don't have to use this step. It's just optional if you want to. And under the effects tab, let's look for under comic. You can see neon. So I'm going to drag and drop that above our clip. Drag the effect down to fit our clip, and you can see what it does to our clip here, just like that. Now with this, you could also add, say, an edge glow, for example. So let's drag that down. So we've got our edge glow. I think that looks pretty cool. And yeah, now you have the choice. You can either enable the layer below, and then you don't really need the cutout version, and you can have your clip look like this. Alternatively, with the cutout version, you can select all three of these, right click on them, hit create compound clip, which is going to apply the neon and the edge glow only to our cutout layer. So we've essentially combined those three into one compound clip, which is pretty cool. And then by having this clip selected, coming over to basic and then choosing the blend mode of screen, we can then remove that black background and put it over the top of our original clip. So now it looks just like this. In my edit, I didn't keep it just on the hand, so I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo. So we're going to split these layers back out. I'm actually going to discard the version that we did our cutout on, and I'm just going to copy a version of our original clip again. Select them all, create compound clip, and then I'm going to change the blend mode back to screen. And as you can see, it's now applied it to the whole layer. And this is what I actually did in my edit. And again, with the opacity, you can keyframe it at 100, go back, keyframe it to 0, and you can see now it will fade in over time, and you can have it fade back out as well. So this is what that looks like. It's pretty much up to you to go from here. There are literally hundreds of effects and transitions for you to choose from. Go through, test some out, have a go at recreating some effects from your favorite edits. And now finally, all there is to do is to render out our edit. So now finally, all there is to do is to export our edit. So I'm just going to come to, after our first kill, I'm going to cut this off with Control B, and I'm going to bring our second edited clip down just like that, and I'm going to cut our audio down as well, again with Command B, and I'm going to fade out the end just like that. So we've got our whole edit. Now let's say we want to export this as a video, so we're going to come up to the export button, and here you're going to choose where you want to save it. So I'm going to save it in Capcut Edit, select the folder. Here is where you pick your resolution. So my clips were 1080p, so by default it would be 1080p. You can pick 2K or 4K. You do not have to choose the resolution that your clips were at. So if you're uploading to YouTube, for example, even if your clips are 1080p, you're probably going to want to export at 2K or 4K, because on YouTube, they allow a higher bitrate for higher resolution videos. So even though your video is still 1080p, because it's at 2K, you have access to the 2K bitrate that YouTube allows, therefore giving you better quality. So in my case, I'm going to choose 2K. You can go up to 4K, or like I said, pick your original resolution. Bitrate, there will be some some presets here. I'm going to go with customized. Again, I'm going to go with a constant bitrate, and I'm going to go with 50,000. So just match this to whatever you recorded your clip with originally. So 50 megabits per second is going to be 50,000 kilobits per second. That's how that works. Again, you can pick VBR here if you're worried about file size, but if you want the best quality, then CBR. Codec, we have the option H.264, HEVC, and AV1. Here, I would recommend picking AV1 if you're able to. AV1 is going to give you smaller file sizes, better quality, and it's just overall better codec. So I'd pick AV1. YouTube will take AV1. Most social media will take AV1. It's just all around a better codec to use. Format, you're going to want MP4. And the frame rate, you're going to want to pick whatever your composition was. You can see over here, mine was 60 FPS, so I'm going to pick 60 FPS here, and I'm going to click export. And as you can see here, it says video is imported to local. So if I open the folder and drag it onto my main monitor, you can see tutorial.mp4. And if we watch this back, you'll see it is the exact edit that we made in this tutorial. Now mine actually has no audio, and that's simply because I muted the audio track. So if I unmute that, it would export with audio. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to adding sync and flow to your Valorant montages inside of Capcut. If you guys did enjoy this video, then please drop a like on it. Leave a comment with any other video ideas that you'd like to see on the channel. Download Capcut with the link at the top of the description. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.